Keep a safe distance, wear a mask, and wash your hands. The COVID-19 news and recommendations are everywhere these days. At the beginning of the pandemic, people couldn't stop consuming the news and followed the instructions like it was a religion. But lately, we have been seeing a remarkable trend. Although the virus is peaking in some countries, people seem to be fed up with the rules, restrictions, and news. Why is that? And more importantly, what can we do about it? Questions we will cover in this video. First, why are we so sick of corona? No, I'm not going to go into detail about the symptoms of the virus. I'm talking about the so-called COVID fatigue, where people are fed up with the consequences of the virus. It is all over the news and it influences everyday life. There are several reasons for this COVID fatigue. First, habituation. People are getting used to the threat of coronavirus to a degree of neglect. The level of fear is declining, and what used to be new and scary is now normal and not special anymore. Think about flying. Terrifying in the beginning, but nothing major anymore. Oh well, let's be real. Maybe still a little bit. Researchers also observe an optimism bias. This is the idea that we predict the probability of us facing negative life events, such as getting, for example, COVID-19, as being much lower than the probability of others facing the same event. Feeling lucky? The pandemic also lasts a very, very long time. Early during or right after a disaster, communities tend to pull together. People support each other and there is a sense of solidarity. Think about the first weeks of the pandemic when everybody stayed at home and people waved to each other all the time. Eventually, the stress piled up and people lost their trust in the situation. As a consequence, we observed angry or careless reactions. Some say they don't care anymore, others just stopped listening to authorities and scientists. This is related to the fact that the taken measures only have an effect in the long term, which makes it harder to find motivation. Worrying about the next lockdown might seem unimportant when you feel like dancing. Next, we can observe the rebound effect. During the lockdown, our lives were very limited. We couldn't go out to meet friends or for work. We felt restricted. Once the government lifted the measures, people quickly wanted to restore their lives. They might overcompensate and by consequence not follow any rules anymore. Where's the party at? There is also news fatigue, the act of avoiding the news. During the first months of the pandemic, we couldn't stop consuming the corona news. Throughout March, The Guardian received a record of 2.17 billion views. But lately, we have been seeing a significant drop in our interest concerning the virus. Popular reasons why people avoid the news are doubts about the accuracy of stories, feelings of powerlessness, and the effect on the mood. The latter can be confirmed by the close relationship between overconsumption of news and generally increased anxiety. Some anxiety might motivate people to follow the rules, but there's a fine threshold between what is helpful anxiety and what crosses the line. Here we see two different groups. The first group are the monitors. They consume more and more news when feeling anxious, an act that can trigger feelings of depression. The second group are the blunters. They block the news and show more blunting behavior. The extreme form of these coping styles might result in non-compliance. Moreover, the overload of corona news might make the public desensitized. The more we hear it, the less we notice it. Compare it to a bad pop song. These are all dangerous trends because there is a link between the consumption of news about coronavirus and a greater understanding of and motivation for the taken measures. So, what can we do about it? Clear, structured, and simple information seems to be the key. People don't want to be confronted with ever-changing and complicated information. An example is working with color codes about the phase of the pandemic. This can be specified for certain regions so people know where to go, and more importantly, where not to go. Also, a corona footprint could help. This would show how certain behaviors impact the pandemic. Going out for a drink with a family member might be insignificant compared to visiting the pub. Also, communicating the measures in a personal way can boost cooperation. We need to have the feeling that the threat is still there, and therefore closeness seems important. We can accomplish this by telling personal stories that speak to people. Here, influencers and other people with status can help to motivate their following. They have a closer connection to people than the government or traditional media. Instagrammers telling about why they're wearing a mouth mask seems way more appealing than a dry newspaper headline. So TikTokers and Instagrammers, get to work. And is there something you can do? For sure, communicating and talking about it with your inner circle is important. It helps to cope and to stay motivated. Also showing your gratitude to people that help to fight this pandemic, even if it's just by keeping your distance. Because if we want it or not, we're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
Stay safe and healthy.